Hello, everybody, and this is yours truly, Solid Shark here, your host of Hands Up Now, podcast number 8, with none other than Tucson, Arizona's truly pop EDM, and also Hands Up artists. We have here Tyler Rains in the studio, and he brings you his new track here. Well, is it new? Is Afar new, Tyler?
Yeah, Far's still pretty new. I put it out about 3 months ago now. Yeah, it's about 3 months ago now, so still somewhat new.
Oh, that's good. Well, 3 months is still fairly new because a lot of
Yeah,
artists they have this expectation in like 2 weeks and then bye bye, nobody cares. But
right.
how do you feel about releases? Do you do more marketing afterwards? Because that's how I found you. It's like even though you put some stuff back in the day, and like within a year or two, I found you on MySpace days, and
Yeah,
it was quite nice because you are very consistent on releasing more tracks on your MySpace, and that's one way to build a fan base. And I am a fan of yours, a big fan.
thank you, thank you.
Well,
Yeah,
it's actually good to have you on the podcast. This was very unexpected. I'm very stoked about this podcast in particular because one, you are an original of the Hands Up community. You're not like just some artist out there like most of my guests who are have a different style, or I have to like do a little bit more research. And for you, I already kind of know where you kind of came from, but at the same time, you're now as an artist, the last 12 years, I think your style has progressed to different genres, including electro house. Once you got to electro house, I knew that you're gonna, we're gonna hear a different version of Tyler.
yeah.
And so, tell me exactly. So, if we go back memory lane, right? And
Mm.
by the way, before we do that, I actually do want to do a plug real quick. This is Jaded Heart. I'm a big fan of this release. And I believe, when did this hands up version come out, Tyler?
Oh gosh, this came out and I believe, was it 2020? Oh God, I gotta check here.
2020. If 20, that's fine. That's fairly still
Yeah,
new.
it
I just
was.
heard it last week or this week, so I'm gonna leave this song for now because it's just so good.
Yeah,
And folks, you're
2020.
listening to Tyler himself singing in his own hands up track. A lot of people are not doing that. They're actually going off to finding vocalists, singers, hiring them, and but Tyler's got it all. And this is how I found you originally, Tyler. Was actually you singing your own original hands up material, which a lot of the influences reminded me of. Obviously, a lot of the fans from Hands Up, which were like Manian, the Zulan
Mm.
Records, Tune Up.
Right. Yeah.
You had Nexus VST, and it was just like so in there, and it sounded just right. It sounded just right that you got it all. And tell me about how you started out as a music artist. Was it Hands Up really?
It really was Hands Up. That was my first. That was kind of the my musical obsession at the time when I first started producing music. So that's kind of that was my aim. That was my goal to be able to recreate kind of what I was hearing in my own way. Um, so yeah, that was kind of the birth of Club Mover. To be honest, I think actually I should say going back a little before that, I want to say it was Bass Hunter actually who I was listening to a
Yes.
lot of Bass Hunter at the
Yes,
time.
and I think at one point I might have made a comment that you are kind of the American answer to Bass Hunter. I think I might have made that comment.
Yeah, that would make sense because he was the first artist I was really like, like, is this really just one person making this music? So
Hmm.
I kind of researched him
Uh huh.
and found out he used FL Studio, at least at the time. And I was like, ooh, what's that? What is that? And so yeah, I started learning FL Studio and slowly learning more and more. And as soon as I was able to kind of figure out how to um, add my own vocals into the beats that I was creating. It kind of just everything unfolded from there. So I was just constantly writing and producing more beats, and um, then Club Mover was born.
Club Mover was born, and that's a very solid name. I mean, when people have a hard time in Europe, it's because English is not their first language, like myself, to find the name. For me, I just like my name because of video game influence and also some movies, and then there you go. And then I was a big fan of wrestling, and then I saw this one commercial. They were promoting the SummerSlam. Like, oh, I cannot not use this name. It's just like I did so much research on this one wrestler, and his mother used to call him Solid for his chubby cheeks and chubby body because he was a chubby baby, and then turned out to be this monster of a wrestler that when he was like in his 20s and 30s. So, anyways, that's Brock Lesnar, and Brock Lesnar did this F5 on a shark, and then Solid Shark was born. I had to name it such. I actually was Facebook friends with him for a very short time before his UFC debut and made more success at the UFC. And you gotta stay private. I think when you get a point, certain time when you in your fame, in your career, you have to stay private. So I understand why we parted ways on Facebook together. So, but anyways, yes, Club Mover is a very solid name. And before this podcast, I asked Tyler how should we name the podcast, and he prefers by Tyler Reigns because that's how he is releasing his new material on, and as well as it's not that we scrapped a Club Mover. It's more like if you want to hear Tyler make hands up, well, actually give us a like of the podcast episode and also leave us a comment. On top of that, definitely follow Tyler. Tyler, where can people find you? Because we connected, I think it was on YouTube and then Instagram.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm everywhere. So I use Instagram a lot. Instagram is probably what I use the most. And then YouTube, I'm always on YouTube, but it's not so often that I upload on there. But I would say Instagram and Facebook. So my handle on everything is Tyler Rain. So no,
And Tyler, after this podcast, I'll give you the cheat sheet for YouTube of how I started a test case channel and turned out to be a success story. What makes one YouTube channel really grow fast and on subscribers and more listeners and stuff like that, because all of a sudden I started uploading material on there. It was kind of like, let's see what happens. What do you know? Immediate crazy hits. Plus, there's some other stuff you have to reshare and stuff like that. But I'll tell you my secret sauce I found out on YouTube after using it for a year or two now.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But anyways, this is crazy. Okay, MySpace days, I think it was 2007 or 8 or something like that.
Yeah.
And
Go.
Club Mover, I remember there was so much going on. Okay, first of all, I was on MSN Messenger. I don't know if you used MSN. Did you use that?
Yeah, I did. Yep. I remember.
Were we connected on MSN Messenger or no?
Yeah, I believe we were. I think
Because
that's primarily how we
all
were.
day, every day after school, I was on MSN Messenger. Like, that was my hands up life. It was MSN Messenger. And then MSN Messenger, gave up, and then Skype was the thing, and then Skype got sold to like Microsoft or Google for like 10 billion or whatever it was. And then there goes Skype. And and now everybody's like on Facebook is dying. Well, it's not that it's dying. It's just like old, and the social media trend is like, are you on TikTok by any chance?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm not
good.
super active on TikTok, but yeah, I do have an account. So
I don't even know how. I don't even have a TikTok. That's the one thing I'm probably never gonna get on, because I'm not I don't do videos. Like, I have music videos, but I don't know. I'll have to find influencers on there if I use it. And even if I did, I don't know what's going on with them. Like, I found a couple of ones, but yeah, our music is on TikTok, just like anybody's music. But then I'll have to find more ways to break into TikTok.
yeah. Yeah, each platform I think comes with its own. Got to figure out how to kind of make the most.
And so, by the way, Tyler, on our welcome to our Discord server. You just joined our Discord server. We started it in 2020 as a test case with like 23 people, and now we're 400 plus members. It was a lot of work to get here, by the way. It wasn't like an easy, because when people joined, a lot of people left. I mean, the attrition started to happen when people wanted something and then they couldn't get it, or maybe I think a lot of people just had these expectations. But at the same time, the ones that really stuck here and stayed here are either the more veterans or the ones that they had a lot of questions, or they're still kind of trying to learn the curve, or like it's a mix of it's a mix of both worlds, really. And but in the end of the day, we named it Hands Up Now, and it's Hands Up Now is a community. We have our own website. I'm not sure if you've seen it. Hands dash up dash now. And if you're wondering, are we really doing hands up only? No, not really. It's just a mixture of all worlds. We're now big into hardstyle, by the way. We started
Mm,
our own Spotify hardstyle playlist, which we bring a
love that.
hardstyle artist and we feature them. And then, by the way, we have all kinds of producers on our Discord server. So if you ever have a remix pack, anything like that, one source for getting more remixes to your music, Tyler, would be our server, by the way. And then we have some partnership servers that we can always pitch into them, and they have like remix contests on like some of these websites like Audius. I'm not sure if you heard of Audius, but I can channel you after the call to kind of catch up and like show you Discord. Like Discord, I've been very active on it. I'm part of like 200 EDM servers, and like some of them are video game servers, but it's been a lot. And there's all these communities and a lot of silos. People like to be in the silo and just stay there. That's fine, especially like when you go into hard style. But I think one thing I've noticed that what are your thoughts about hard style in general? Have you tried producing it?
Oh man, I love hardstyle so much. I listen to a lot of hardstyle. I found that for me, it's a lot more difficult to produce.
Mm-hmm.
So I've kind of dipped my toe in it a little bit as far as trying to produce my own hardstyle, but I was just never really happy with the results. So yeah, I haven't gotten too deep into producing hardstyle, but I'm a big fan of hardstyle though.
We're gonna
Love
do a
it so
quick
much.
shout out for Good Love, and this is actually more like tropical house. Is that it?
Yeah, it is. It definitely has some tropical house influences there. That one's really hard for me to kind of pin a genre on. I feel like I was kind of in between a lot of different genres at the time that I produced that. But yeah, I was in contact with an Instagram friend of mine, Carson, and he had just put out that song. So
I see some
kind
dubstep influence in here. And I remember it was 2012. And you did a remix for one of my songs. I think it was Boco Beach, and you did a dubstep remix. I think it was.
ah, yeah. I
That
remember
was really
that.
good because that was my debut single, and then we had like 12 remixes. It was nuts.
Yeah, that's
And if only I could go back then, and if only I had all the in-depth know-how as I do today, because today I just consider myself a happy hardcore artist, and I'm looking to push that. Not so much hands up. I don't know what's going on with hands up. It's like I tried a lot of things with hands up, and it's just like I don't think Destiny and God do not want me to make hands up. The more I try, I did one album, but with like no promotion. I don't. I mean, that was a disappointment. If I should have done more promotions on it in 2013 because it still stands out to today. Has some very quality tracks, but so we're on MySpace. I find you, and I think, and I believe you were used to be in California, correct? Back
yeah,
then.
that's yeah.
And a lot of people have moved out of California for obvious reasons, but Arizona is a really nice place. I heard, and I heard Phoenix is very good, very cool people there, and very good vibes. I'm hearing. By the way,
Yeah,
go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, it's I'm not a big fan of the desert to be honest. I moved out of California mostly because it's so expensive to live
Yeah,
there.
exactly. And
I love it,
did you ever
but
go through a sandstorm in Arizona?
not a sandstorm. We do get a lot of monsoons, at least here in Tucson.
Well,
So a lot of summer rain, a lot of flash floods.
I can't
Uh,
remember which year was it. Maybe 2013 or 12 or something like that, or 14. But there was a sandstorm there, and there were some funny videos on YouTube about it. But my friend used to live in Arizona at that time, and I would always joke about like the sandstorm stuff. Well, speaking of sandstorm, the Rude was just in Washington D.C. for an event, and my best friend here opened the house for him in the nightclub. That's one nightclub in particular that I personally would. That's gonna be my debut for DJing, and I'm really looking forward to it because the fact that they're gonna let me play, my music and my style is pretty sweet. The reason I say that is because Brennan Hart, the hardstyle DJ, you probably know of. He actually performed there a couple of weeks ago, and I was there for the that was my first hardstyle ever event.
Wow, nice.
I've never been to one, but it's crazy. This is the first time me saying this in a podcast, and in the fifth track that he played, that was the one I had to bail because it just got more screechy and hardstyle. It is, it is as it is, and so the opening DJs did a farewell job. One of the opening DJs, he's actually just joined our server a week ago. His name is Rewilder. He's based here in the East Coast, and he just did a performance in New York. So New York, we just connected with New York. So we're looking to expand what we're doing here in the East Coast, but it's just like a turtle. Honestly, it's just like a turtle because until I find these communities and these EDM rave festivals and so forth, or the raves itself, it takes some time. And I'm not sure if you knew, but we used to have a event line called East Coast Hard Dance. So they will do anything hard dance, right? So you're talking about
Okay.
Philadelphia, all the major cities there, like Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh. Then they had New York, obviously, Baltimore, Maryland. I did a hands up happy hardcore thing in like 2015 with them. They let me DJ there. It was very nice. But I don't know what happened. It's just like, and so that happened. So now there's new event line. They're doing events, and so they're looking to do something down in Miami. But have you ever been to the East Coast and to try to do stuff here?
I haven't. I would love to, but I so far have not.
Mhm.
So hopefully that changes, but
Well, I tell you what, we have a bunch of hardstyle producers here on the Discord server, and it doesn't hurt to just connect with them and get a couple of hardstyle remixes up your sleeve while you do more vocal work. And by the way, not sure if you heard the rumor, but now I run a record label, Sunny Beach Records, and that's how we communicated initially. And
yeah,
initially that started in 2013 after I didn't have a very good run as a artist who would go to other labels and stuff like that. Like I would release my stuff on like the smallest hands up label out there in the world, and then didn't have a good experience there. And then I tried to meet the biggest label in Germany. That was a bad story, and so one thing led to another. I think I was destined to start my own label, and so that's what I did. Because the know-how, obviously, I picked up from Kerry August, so Cap Records. We definitely have to do a shout out for that. There's no
yeah.
doubt about it. We're gonna get to Kerry August in just a second, but back in 2008, I would say, like Tyler, you were very proficient. Like you were professional, making hands up, right? And
Yeah.
I would personally credit you for that because, for me, I was just like guy who would make certain vocals and MC stuff, try to like latch on to producers like you and see, I wonder if we can do something together or like something like that. That was me. I did not even know how to make hands up until like recently, until I finally figured it out. And I got all the FL Studio and all the gear and stuff like that. But it took a long time. But for somebody like you actually picked up very quickly. Do you have any advice for upcoming hands up producers, especially on our Discord server? Because even today themselves, they were asking like, what makes a hands up song? Is it the vocal? Do I need a vocal? And I said that's not the case. But I sent them a remix pack of like DJ Dean, If I Could Be You. Let's see what they do with it, kind of
Yeah.
thing. What kind of advice do you have for upcoming hands up artists?
Honestly, I think it really, at least for me, it really started with just listening to a lot of hands up music and kind of being able to identify what makes hands up what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know, for me, it was really just taking that love of that passion for listening to hands up music and kind of being able to hear what's going on in those tracks. And then bridging it with just learning the basic elements of creating beat in FL Studio, and eventually through lots of Google and lots of YouTube. YouTube was really, honestly, YouTube was my teacher for being able to create hands up. Any kind of problem I would have, if I didn't know how to do something in FL Studio, 9 times out of 10 I could find it on YouTube. So yeah, or I really think just like studying a lot of hands up music and using whatever resources you can get your hands on, even if that's just YouTube.
Yeah, and right now we're playing Club Mover, an old classic, All of Me, the radio mix on Spotify. And this is you singing, of course. Definitely a banger right here. Because anything that you will make, you will put your vocals in it, and you had this released on the top 50 found by I think Cap Records put this up together,
Yeah, great.
and this is awesome because I saw your name back then because I was doing a lot of promotions on the social medias, and once I saw Tyler, Club Mover on Cap Records, I was very excited because, I connected you guys, and then what happened? One thing led to another. I was so excited to see you up in, I think it was Seattle. Did you go to the club there? Tell me
I
about that
did.
experience, because you also did an interview with Brooklyn Bounce. You guys were in the same room. Oh my God! Tell us about that.
That was crazy. That was definitely an experience I'll never forget. Um, I look back and I look at the interview and I'm like, oh my gosh, I was so nervous and you could just tell.
You were
But
so young too, and you're still young. Like, you just don't age. Like, what's the secret sauce here?
I don't know what that is, but thank you, appreciate that. I feel like I'm getting old, but um, yeah, it's definitely something I'll never forget. Being able to go to Seattle, and I just had a lot of really great experiences with Cap Records in general. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was really
Yeah,
awesome.
and like when I saw you perform there at the club, it was like, wow. Did you feel something when you were performing? The energy, the the the, the move. Like, did you feel like
Yeah.
this was Club Mover, and you did it? You know?
Yeah, I really did, and I remember sitting in the green room just waiting
Oh
for
my
my time
God,
to go up
yes.
and being so nervous that
El-
I felt sick in my stomach.
I was
But
pretty nervous too myself when I did my first. So I booked. I'm not sure if you know Set Techno Boy. He's a hands-up producer.
yeah, yeah,
And he did a lot of stuff with DJ THT, but you probably heard of him. And so
uh,
he came from France, and we went to Chicago. It was the only hands up nightclub here in the Midwest. And it went out of business in 2013, but this was like 2011. And so we had the release of Summer Jam. He did a remix of that, and um we go there. It was like August or September, like the hottest day in Chicago, like the hottest 3 days in like 50 years. And it was like, we had a lot of fun in Chicago. That was my first time I was ever in Chicago. But the story was, me and Set Techno Boy were performing there. I was the MC, he was the DJ. And I was very nervous to be on the microphone because there were over 500 people there. And so, but I was just an MC. I only had to say, like, a couple, 4 words, and that's it. Like, how about you? Like, you're actually singing on the microphone. Did you have any, any phobia or anything like that?
I mean, honestly, like I'm an introvert. I've had social anxiety for my entire life, like crippling social anxiety, but I knew that I don't know, just loving this music so much, I felt like that's where I wanted to be, no matter how afraid I was.
Mm,
And I just remember being so scared to go up there, but once I was there on that stage, it's kind of like something else just took over and just feeling all that energy in the room. I just kind of like snapped into a different mode and
yeah,
I wasn't the scared Tyler anymore
yeah.
until the second that it was over. Then I went back to being the
And,
the
and so
scared,
one
nervous.
thing that speaks about this is, today, I mean, obviously this has always been the case, to stay relevant, to stay physically present to the audience. And so if you did it at a consistent basis, or like if you were to perform this venue, that venue, hit up the nightclubs and stuff like that, it takes a lot of, like, a lot of work. And I noticed that because I would, in the last 12, 13 years, I would do like these off gigs that just to play music just because they needed somebody to play music, not so much, oh, I'm performing there, check me out. That wasn't the case. So with that being said, um, do you see yourself, like, reaching out to a couple of clubs in the area in Tucson, maybe California, I'm not sure, but just to see, like, if they will test the waters, or what kind of, like, feel do you have towards performing again? I'm thinking of, I always present this to the podcast guests that we have here, is if we can tackle certain sectors of the market, like the anime scene, like the anime, then they have like these other festivals. Are there any particular that you have like visited? Like, have you ever been to like any of the anime cons, the comic cons, or anything like that?
Sadly, I can't say that I have. Um, but that's definitely a great question as far as kind of reaching out to local events and
Yes.
whatnot. Yeah, that's something I really haven't pushed for as
Like
much, and
have a press kit. I have like even one of our guests, Time Waster. I'm not sure if you heard of him. He was also part of our early releases, like Heroes Remix, Boca Beach, and stuff. But Time Waster, he has a press kit, and you just bring a press kit, just send it to the promoter or just send it to the club and say, hey, you can do this, you can do that. Es- especially on the mic. There's not a lot of people like you out there and me that can be on the mic and sing hands up music because, and that is one thing that really speaks volume here. And I like having you as a guest because you're a singer. You're a singer. You're not just a producer. You're also a singer who can perform on the mic, and that's what I really like. It's not like DJ playing music boring, but you're on the mic and you're entertaining the crowd. That is more. I think that's the bigger takeaway than actually DJing. What do you think?
yeah, I think that it feels kind of like a strength and a weakness because I've always been so obsessed with doing everything myself.
Yeah,
So I want to do it all. I want to have complete creative control over everything
yeah.
from writing the song to producing it to singing it to performing
Oh,
it.
and by the way, if you were to, I would love to pitch this idea after the call. Like, hey, Tyler, I wish you were here with us the last 2 years because it's been hectic, and especially when it comes down to looking for remix producers. We've had a lot of remix packs, a lot, and now that it's 2022 going to 2023, um, some of the songs I'm looking to recycle them only because now that I'm doing strictly happy hardcore, I can also push some other remixes too on the release. So if you ever feel like you're looking to remix stuff as well, let me know. We're open
Okay.
house here. We're open ears, so we're all
Oh,
ears.
all right. Yeah, good to know.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and so anyway, so that happened, and and so obviously we know Cap Records went off to like doing the sync licensing and the movie and the TV and stuff like that, and it changed a lot. And so I stay in touch with Dom. Do you reach out to him and say hello and stuff?
Yeah, we recently became Facebook friends maybe a few months ago. So
Oh,
yeah,
good.
there's
Oh,
still
wow.
yeah.
Facebook is crazy. I mean, like, I wish I did not remove my old accounts because now they have to have an ID to. Because I used to have like these other Solid Shark accounts that I can do my promotions on, and by the way, it worked. Like I would have more people latched into the music and more followers and stuff like that. But if only I didn't delete those accounts, because now I'm just like, with my personal account, there's no now, which brings me to the next thing is Facebook can now have your own page can become an account. Did you know that? Like your own Facebook page can now become its own account, and you can actually like follow people and comment and stuff like that. That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um, and I got on Instagram pretty late. Like I think it was about 2019 or 18. I got on Instagram because I went to the Winter Music Conference in Miami, which was this big event. I met Fed Legrand, by the way. Put your hands up for Detroit. I got a
Yeah.
picture with him, and then I met I will butcher this name. Noan Pure, house DJ name from Germany or Switzerland. I think Switzerland. Yeah, she'll kill me for that. Uh, so she was at the conference as well, and then we had EDX, by the way. And EDX is a Swiss artist as well. He gave me a hat. It was pretty cool.
Oh, nice.
And yeah, I got to meet these famous three DJs, and they performing obviously at Ultra. So part of their Ultra performance, which Ultra bought Winter Music Conference right the same time that I was there at the event, because a lot of
Wow.
people were speculating if the event was going to happen or not. By the way, Winter Music Conference has been happening since like 89 or 91 or something like that, or like earlier. So the guy putting that event together, good on him that he didn't cancel anything and he kept this thing going. And it was amazing. So it's a bunch of seminars, learning about A&R and all that stuff. And truth be told, a lot of all that was kind of like, I learned a lot from there, and then I learned a lot from my own experience in the marketing technology world, which now I'm bringing to Hands Up, which is why I created Hands Up now as this community on Discord. And by the way, the success to our story was actually COVID, because COVID made a lot of people to be online, and
Mm,
because of that, the years of COVID, the 2020, 2021, 2022, we saw a lot of people coming on here because of that, and that helped a lot, especially in the beginning. Because Tyler, we used to have monthly meetups, so we used to meet up the first month of the first day of the month at 12 o'clock Eastern Standard, and we'll meet up on here, and then we're gonna do a voice chat for 1 hour. Everybody introduces themselves and stuff like that. But we stopped doing it after the year was passed, and then everybody went back to work all of a sudden. And so COVID was kind of like
right.
over. I mean, big deal about COVID. So we're like, oh no, bring back COVID. So it was kind of like that. But tell me, how was it like during COVID years? Did you go through anything? How did it change anything you did in life?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think like with everyone, we kind of got imprisoned in our houses. So, um, it was definitely a lot of time for reflection and just kind of working on my craft. And um, that was that was a time where I was really kind of working on learning some different sounds, and I feel like that's kind of what I've been doing for my whole musical career, is just
Mm-hmm.
constantly evolving into different sounds. But yeah, I think that was really a special time for me to. I was also kind of working on building up my studio, because my home studio,
Yeah.
because when I moved here from California, I lost. I really only brought what I could fit in my car, so
Wow.
I was yeah, I was really kind of starting from scratch with everything. So the time to just kind of be home and work on music was a really good opportunity, not only for just learning, but also for kind of slowly being able to build up my little creation station back up.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah.
one thing is like just finding out who is out there in the EDM community. Forget about pop, forget about EDM, forget about these hashtags and all that. Whoever is doing events, even dubstep, you do dubstep, so might as well. That the thing is like just latch onto them, who figure out who they are. They're always doing events every month, pushing their brands, and I'm sure everybody has their weakness, and so they're always finding somebody not being able to make it on the event, or somebody being in need of a DJ. Have you thought about DJing itself, like just getting on the turntables and doing it? Have you tried that before?
I've thought about it, but it always felt like something that I don't know. I feel like so much of my energy is going into just trying to improve my production skills. So I don't know. I'm definitely someone who likes to be doing a lot as far as creating music. So I always felt that that was kind of what was outside of my um I guess I don't know, my little bubble of creativity that I made for myself. It
Well,
felt so full, so
Tyler,
DJ.
to make you feel better, I don't know if you knew this back in the day, but I was always an extrovert. So like I would like literally go up to people's faces and talk about hands up. That's how much of a hands up promoter I was. And
Yeah.
so, with that being said, when I find these promoters, the nightclubs, and so forth, I'm gonna continue, pushing people like you out there to just, meet them, get associated, and get in touch, because otherwise, it's like so much untapped talent that's out
Yeah.
there
Mm.
that
Right.
can always break the scene. And by the way, two people who used to be part of the MSN Messenger groupie kind of we have. I'll, I'll tell you who they are after the call, but they got to be in the top 100 Billboard, and they're one of the top 10 DJs right now in EDM, which is crazy,
Yeah.
Tyler. By the way, you know that it wasn't more than like 30 people or 50 people that I was in touch with back then. It was like, that's it. Like, it was that person, that country, and we're all these mixed of like, international, and we're trying to make hands up and stuff. And hands up kind of like blew up as it kind of like died out, and then people associated themselves with house music, thinking that house music was going to be the next. And then I think just people kind of gave up a lot of and started families and so forth. But people like you and me, we're still doing the same thing. We're making music and so forth. But wow, it's crazy. By the way, I've almost finished my glass of wine. We're having a glass. I'm having my glass of wine here on the podcast. I've never had a drink here on a podcast ever. This is the first time I'm doing it, and kudos to Tyler here, Club Mover, formerly known as Tyler Rains. Everyone, check us out. Check Tyler on Spotify, and right now I'm just doing a replay of Jaded Heart, which is a great track. And that's how I met Tyler, by the way, folks who are listening to the podcast. Tyler was a hands-up artist like myself. I met him on MySpace, which was 13 years ago. By the way, it's 9/11, and I haven't done anything about 9/11. You're the second American guest I had on a podcast today. What was it like? I was in fourth grade back then, and they just like kicked us out of school. We had to go home. How did you feel back in 9/11 and when it happened?
Yeah, I remember it pretty vividly. I think I was in maybe fifth grade,
Oh wow.
somewhere around there. That could be. Anyway, I remember being in school and um, we were kind of writing about what we knew about what had happened basically in there. I just remember there being a lot of different kind of stories going around. No one knew exactly what had happened yet, but yeah, I think we actually stayed in school for that day, and it was pretty scary and really sad.
Yeah, well, those were times, and I can't believe it's been 21 years since
Yeah,
that time. And but I'm just putting it out there only because it's 9/11. That's why. And time goes pretty fast. Like time goes so fast that it wouldn't be about, God knows, 12, 13 years until I reconnect with Tyler Rains. My goodness. I think the last time I was in touch with you was on MSN Messenger, and I told you about the Ari Spears bootleg that I did. And I was kind of like, oh my god, I can actually put random vocals in a hands up song that I randomly did, but it wasn't like on beat or on key or anything, so you didn't have to like be that person to butcher me on that. But anyways, it was kind of like, and you were you and me were both fans of Ari Spears, and that's one recollection I have. I have a very interesting mind, by the way, Taylor. I remember just about everything, especially that time, because time felt so slow back then. And I was on these random networks like Bebo. I don't know if you heard of Bebo. It was a UK social media, kind of like a MySpace, but for English people, or like the UK.
mm,
I don't know if you
okay.
ever had an account at Bebo.com.
Mm, No, I don't think so.
Bebo. It was in Bebo. And there were all these happy hardcore artists on Bebo promoting their thing. And I was part of a happy hardcore group, and then like I was like doing the random stuff, like emceeing for that, and then that kind of like died out, and then that was it. We all split. And um, did you ever connect with anybody else from my network other than like the Cap Records? Like, did I ever put you in touch with anyone else?
Oh gosh, I'm sure you did. Um, I'm just trying to remember. I don't know. It's been so long. It's. I'm not sure if I remember.
Typically, folks, we're the 39th minute, and I ask usually questions, but the fact that I'm super excited about having Tyler on the podcast, it's already been 40 minutes almost past, and I haven't even asked Tyler, top 5 artists of all time. Who are your
Oh,
influences?
oh man, I was not prepared for this one. But let's see. Are we talking now, or are we talking back
Anything,
in the summer break?
even Lady Gaga, only because after the podcast, I will tell you something about Lady Gaga that you probably didn't
Okay.
know.
Okay. Um, oh man, where do I start? That's such a great. I have to
Okay, how
say,
about,
definitely Manian. Manian.
okay,
Manian is definitely up there as a producer.
we have to
One
get
of the.
him on the podcast for sure.
Oh
Manian.
yeah, yeah.
By the way, I
Um,
think we should be able to get Cascara. What do you think? Do you think we should get Cascara on a podcast?
yeah, definitely
Yes.
Cascada.
Okay. All
Not
right.
a
Well,
Manian.
when that happens, I'm gonna ask you for questions because, man, has it been many years? I've actually never seen her. By the way, Bass Hunter, if you ever mention in your top 5, and which I think you might, Bass Hunter, I met him in person, by the way, and it was
Oh wow.
strange because he was performing in my native country in Eastern Europe, and I took a picture of him when he was exiting the arena, and it was his face, right, sweating and all that, with the long hair, when which used to have the long hair, by the way.
Yeah.
And this was 2009. And just to let you know, Tyler, I uh, had a yellow shirt, which and these jeans, and I was rocking it, and I was jumping the entire performance of Base Hunter. I was jumping the highest. Like if I was in the Olympics, I might pass some jumping random course, but that's how much I was jumping, and the highest. And what happened was, he called me out during his performance.
Wow.
Talk about
That's awesome.
peacocking. Okay, so Base Hunter is performing in Sunny Beach at this club called Den Glade Viking, which means the Happy Viking in Danish. It's a Danish nightclub. The Danish love hands up, by the way.
Yeah.
Scandinavians, they don't go wrong with hands up. So I'm there, and Base Hunter shows up like 1 or 2 a.m. So talk about, I was waiting like 5 or 6 hours until he shows up. I even brought my date. My date left me at the midnight because it was too late, or like 1 a.m. She left me. So I was not the gentleman that everybody expects me to be, to walk her out of the club so she gets back home safe. I was an idiot. I'm there waiting for Base Hunter because of my ego. And Tyler, I met I did not meet him, but I saw him on stage. So here's what he did. In one of his songs, he takes a break for 15 seconds. He goes off on the mic and says, "That person in the yellow t-shirt who's jumping, he's the best person in the world." I don't know why he said that, but he said that. You'll see. I guess he had to say something. And
Wow.
Tyler, for the record,
That's
off record, on record, whatever, it doesn't matter. This podcast is not for kids, by the way. This is an adult podcast. This is the kind of nightclub that people can be naked in the club. So this is another continent, Tyler. It's not America. So over there in parts of Europe, you do that. You can do that stuff. By the way, I was not naked. There were other people at the bar who were naked. So that's how crazy it was. It was packed to the teeth. People were sweating. I was sweating. It doesn't matter. Base Hunter's in town. He's in tonight performing. It was not. But anyway, going back to top five influences, Tyler, if you can relate.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Well, I think, let's see, I named so Manian, Cascada for sure. I kind of want to blend some of my old influences with maybe some current as well. So, oh God, I don't know why, but Discotronic keeps coming to
Yes.
mind from back
Yes.
in the day. But then I'm gonna have to name more than five.
I don't.
uh,
Speaking. By the way, let me just comment while you're thinking about the next. Um, the Three Musketeers. I don't expect you to know them. They're a Hands Up project. There's 2 of them. Could be more. And I think they're German, but they remixed for my label. If you want to get the Discotronic sound, they love Discotronic, and they have that kind of Discotronic vibe to them. So,
nice.
I would kind of remember, but I just had a glass of wine in case I forget. Don't kill me. But after the call, we're gonna have a chat, and I just can't believe it's been so long, Tyler. And I'm telling you, once I started a podcast like a couple weeks ago, I'm thinking about guests who to have on, and the fact that we connected on YouTube, I'm so glad you found me on YouTube, because
Yeah, me too.
now I'm like active on YouTube as a label. We also have a hardstyle label called Auslander Records. In German, it means foreigner, by the way.
Okay. All right.
It's kind of like a very hardstyle look to it. We're trying to like make sure that people want to do EDM hands up, they can come here, Sunny Beach Records. But if they want to do hardstyles, they can still do it at Sunny Beach, by the way. Don't get me wrong. But the hardstyle label, we're looking to grow it out. And Tyler, I mean, it's been a blast. Go ahead. If you thought about any 2 other, I know you do dubstep. You gotta give me a dubstep name here. Do you think Skrillex is gotta be in your top 5?
Well, see, the thing is,
Because
I feel like
isn't he a California guy? Yeah.
I think he is.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure, but the thing is, I think the only time I really was experimenting with dubstep was actually back when I was listening to a lot of Skrillex.
Okay.
I haven't really touched anything dubstep
Okay.
for a long, but Yeah, Skrillex would have been the as cliche as it'll sound was definitely the
Oh
uh
my God.
dubstep.
It's like I was in. By the way, I live in Florida part of the year, so Florida has a very interesting vibe too. Just letting you know, like all the major cities do. I don't know if one
Yeah.
city doesn't have a vibe, but my
Mhm.
God, Tyler, like we gotta get you back on the map and performing. Like, cause the fact is, like, I love your music, and now that we're back reconnected, there's more we can do, and we're pushing hardstyle big time right now. Only because there's more American people in the rave community who are pushing hardstyle.
Mhm.
And meanwhile, I'm gonna be pushing happy hardcore. And with that being said, what do you think about Twitch and all the Twitch performers and DJs on Twitch? What do you think about all that Twitch hype that's going on? Do you see yourself on Twitch ever? Or
See, it's a great question. Another great question because I haven't ever really used Twitch either. This is one of
wow,
my first times using Discord, and
Tyler,
Twitch isn't.
where have you been? I mean, you're on YouTube, but YouTube is like always out there. It got bought by Google. YouTube is the biggest, video platform out there, and it's obviously a social media platform too. But
Yeah.
yeah. By the way, where can people find you, Tyler? Like, there's obviously YouTube, Instagram. Um,
Probably Instagram, Facebook too. I do have a
okay.
Facebook page. Like I said, Instagram I'm most active on. Um, so I would say Instagram, but Facebook. I have a Twitter, but I don't really use it.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so mainly Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
Yeah, I just got on Twitter like a month ago or two, and all I'm seeing is like, send me a song, send me a song. All these like random EDM fans. I don't know if they do any EDM promotions, but they just take listens because,
Hmm.
from what I'm understanding, Tyler. Okay, let me ask you a question, Tyler, because this is very interesting. When we first met versus now, this was like 2007 or 8 versus now. What are your comments, thoughts about feedback about the EDM hard dance community, hard dance predominantly in the US? Do you think now it's better to be a hard dance producer versus back then? Now that there's
Um,
a platform, there's Ultra, there's EDC, there's this, there's that. Now, if you play hardstyle at a random club, it's not like, ooh, it's more like they will let you do it. What are your thoughts right now?
um, I think a lot has definitely changed. I think there were some, I don't know, back in the day, I think it was almost like you were a little bit of a unicorn if you were producing hands
Yeah.
up or hardstyle. Um, which kind of was good and bad because I remember feeling so kind of isolated, at least being living in America as a hands up producer. It just wasn't something that it was very, very rare.
It was
So
difficult. The most difficult option to choose American EDM pathway in 2000, even 2008, was hands up, only because who is out there and who are the platforms, and it was very difficult. There was only very few, like the Cap Records, for example, was like the only label back then.
yeah.
So, um, but yeah. So hey, I met one of the directors at Ultra, by the way, at that music conference I went to. You know, we didn't get along on Facebook, but that's okay. We parted ways. But hey, there's always another Apple. By the way, the one thing about doing business with anyone is, so long as there's cool vibes, it's so good. Like once it gets like to a different, like once you feel a certain thing, something going off, like people should work with people who like to associate themselves with. You don't have to work with anybody. That's why we parted ways. So it wasn't like anything crazy.
Mm.
So, um, anyways, have you been to a festival like the Ultra or EDC Vegas or something like that?
I have been to EDC.
Wow, which one? Which
Yeah.
one?
Oh gosh, it was a long, long, long time ago. I think I had just turned 18.
Oh,
So
this was back then, because
yeah, it would have been around
I
that
mean, because you
time.
must
Yeah.
be like, you're my age, I believe. So this was back then, like literally, we're talking like 2008, nine. Was the
Yeah.
EDC
Yeah.
still back then around?
Yeah, yeah, I think it was maybe I don't know how long it had been going on at that time, but it was definitely an experience. I
I'm
think
gonna
the
tell you
only
some
other
funny stories about these top artists that I told you about. But go ahead, keep going. Uh huh.
Yeah, I think the only other big or big event rather that I went to festival wise like that would have been um Countdown, which was in San Bernardino, California. And it
Ooh.
happened every year on my birthday, which is
Mm-hmm.
December. Yeah, it's December, I think it's a 3-day thing. So December 30th, which is my birthday, 31st and the 1st for New Year's. And that was another big one that was really, really enjoyable. Um, and then the only other one that comes to mind was um, I went to see Atmospheres in LA.
Oh my God! By the
Love
way,
that.
folks, hang on a second, Tyler. We're gonna have a part two of this podcast. We've never done a part two. Why? Because we got Tyler Rains, formerly known as Club Mover, special guest, not just a guest, special guest for the Solid Shark Hands Up Now show. I'm gonna stop real quick and then we're gonna go to part two in just a second.